Sunsplash in Roseville, California is one of the best water parks in the Sacramento area. In fact, it might be the best. In this review, I'm going to be giving all my thoughts on this water park. Sunsplash is a part of a complex that features go-karts, a castle with a fleet of modern arcade games, and mini golf. If you want to do all the amenities that Golfland Sunsplash has to offer, you could easily spend 6 or 7 hours here. But ultimately, I'm here to review the water park, not the mini golf. So let's move on. As far as land is concerned, Sunsplash is not big at all. They have so many slides fit into a small space, it's honestly pretty crazy. And it makes for a pretty cool reveal when you walk into the park. As far as price goes, it depends. Our night slide ticket, which was from 4 to 8 p.m., cost a little over $30. But for an all-day ticket, it can be much more than that, sometimes near $50. From my personal experience, lines weren't much of an issue, but I know they can be. Driving by this park many times, I have seen the lines can be very long. I would say, if at all possible, try to avoid a summer Saturday. The night slide for us was just enough time to do everything we wanted many times. And there are many fun things to do here. Let's get into the slide lineup. But before we get into the slides I did experience, I want to note a couple slides I did not experience. I did not ride the Vortex or the Dark Holes, but other than that, I rode every notable slide. And while I don't normally do this, I'm going to rank each slide in my opinion. Just because I'm not going to be making a separate ranking video. Number 9, 6-shooter. This slide wasn't anything too special in my opinion, but it's still fun nonetheless. It's just a classic mat racing slide. Number 8, Twin Twisters. This is a pretty normal set of slides. They have some decent speed, but they're nothing too crazy. That's not to say that I didn't enjoy them though. I asked the lifeguard which side was faster, and he said the purple side was, and after riding it, the purple slide typically came out first, so I definitely think that's true. So if you want to get the more thrilling experience, go on the purple side. Number 7, Revolution. Unfortunately, I got unlucky on this bowl slide. The descent into the bowl was pretty fast, but I hit my back pretty badly as we went down the bowl, which was unfortunate, but I can look past that as an enjoyable slide. Number 6, Thunder Falls. This slide seats 4 people and just has a bunch of hills going down, kind of like a quad down, but you do get some good airtime on a drop or two, making it a pretty fun slide. So I made a mistake. This is actually a top 10 list, not a top 9 list, and I forgot to include Storm Rider. So up next is Storm Rider. This is another bowl slide, just on a much bigger scale. This slide exceeded my expectations greatly. That first drop is a lot of fun, even if you don't get any airtime, and then you proceed to spiral around slowly and slowly until you finally proceed down the bowl, which is a pretty fun drop too. Overall, very fun slide. Number 5, Master Blaster. This is the first water coaster I've been on, and I know how good these can be, but this one is just alright. I will give it this though, it is a pretty long experience, which I think is probably what this ride does best, because you won't find any airtime here. However, each tunnel does look pretty cool, and I really like how they did those. This one will certainly not compare to some of the more elite water coasters out there, but it's still pretty fun when you have a chance to get on it. I did notice that this probably had the longest line that we saw while we were there, so do keep that in mind. Number 4, Double Dare. From my first water coaster to my first set of trapdoor slides, this is a very unique experience. Feeling the floor drop out from beneath you is something that is hard to put into words unless you've been on an attraction like this. That free fall sensation at the beginning is probably my favorite part, and then the twists and turns that follow will get you absolutely drenched, and it's very fast. This slide is not glass smooth, but ultimately it's pretty fun nonetheless. Number 3, Stealth. This is one of those half-pipe slides, with the initial plunge being a real gut-wrench, and that first ascent up the wall is also very fun. From there, the ride kind of fizzles out as you just go back and forth before proceeding to the pool, but still, that first drop is what carries the experience. Number 2, Riptide. I think this was the biggest surprise of the day. I was not expecting this to be one of my favorite slides at the park, but here we are. The twisted section to start is fun and builds up some considerable speed before the drop, and if you take this drop at the right angle, it is insane. There were a couple times I took this drop at a sideways angle, getting sideways ejector airtime, which is such a weird feeling on a water slide. But a welcome feeling nonetheless. The wall you then ascend is very fun too, before proceeding with some considerable speed to the pool. It's a pretty simple slide, but if you're able to get the ejector airtime, that's what carries the experience. And coming in at number 1 is Zoomerang, the park's newest water slide. If this slide had airtime, it would be no question the best slide in the park, in my opinion. But it's really the pacing that does it for me. While I wish Zoomerang was longer, you absolutely fly through most of these turns and drops. Not to mention, after you go through a drop and crest the next hill, you get absolutely soaked from behind. It's kind of comical how much water splashes into your raft. My one complaint is length. I wish Zoomerang was longer, but given the space they had to work with, it's impressive they fit in what they did. Overall, Zoomerang was a great way to start and end our stay. So that does it for the slide lineup. Overall, while there aren't any true standouts in comparison to like an elite water coaster, they're all fun. Now, I should mention there are a couple of other attractions here. First of all, the Lazy River. The Lazy River here is pretty nice. It basically makes a whole loop around the park, which is not very big at all, but it's a cool thing nonetheless. Keep in mind, the Lazy River only has one entry and exit point by the bridge at the front of the park. If you like wave pools, then Sunsplash has got one too. It's kind of fun to just float out there and feel the waves as they come in and try to throw you around. Finally, Adventure Island should be noted. This is a kids area featuring some small slides and a playground with a big bucket. And a few of these slides, despite their small size, are deceptively quick, but ultimately it's a great area for kids. Especially if they're not big enough yet to go on some of the bigger attractions at the park. As far as food is concerned, there are a couple of options, but honestly none of them stood out too much, so my personal recommendation would just be to eat outside the park if you can. And for me personally, whenever I'm at an amusement park or a water park, I'm going to prioritize riding roller coasters, or in this case slides, in comparison to getting food. As far as lockers go, there are plenty, but they will run you some money. Unfortunately, these lockers are not complimentary with admission. I'm not sure how much a small locker is, but a large locker is $15. That's a little annoying, but at the end of the day, I would rather have my stuff in a locker than leaving it on a table or carrying it around with me. So as far as Sunsplash goes, and the entire Gulfland Sunsplash complex is concerned, do I recommend a visit? Absolutely. If you're in the area, there aren't too many water parks you're going to find that will match Sunsplash in quality, slide lineup, and just the overall experience. I had so much fun here, and that's what water parks are supposed to be, a fun place where you can ride some good slides and hang out. So, those are my thoughts on Sunsplash in Roseville, California. A place that I, without a shadow of a doubt, recommend you visit.